Hello everybody, Andrew Casey at Hypersanity Books for Kids. Today we're taking a look at comparing A Christmas Carol, the original book, to The Muppets Christmas Carol. I do think the book is worth the read, or the audiobook is worth listening to. Though The Muppets Christmas Carol is one of those all-time favourite movies, I think is underrated in some ways, because it's still relevant even today. And it is an enjoyable movie for the whole family. And for now, we'll just get into it. Number 1, Michael Caine. Michael Caine plays the best Scrooge, and even though it's a Muppets movie, I don't normally like Muppet movies because actors overact for it being a children's movie, the way they interact with the other characters. I think it's a bit too out there. Though Michael Caine remains in character as Ebenezer Scrooge the entire time, even though he's surrounded by Muppets.
Because I'm the stone you can't squeeze blood from, and that's the truth! Thank you for not shouting at me.
Even to the caroler. So there are different parts with the film that I did enjoy, where he stayed in character, and even though he's in a Muppets movie, it's like he's not even in a Muppets movie. He is a part of that world, where as long as you're an intelligent life form, he will still treat you the same way. Number 2, Gonzo.
My name is Charles Dickens.
And my name is Rizzo the Rat.
Gonzo plays Charles Dickens to help narrate the story, which I felt was an interesting tone. There are other adaptations of A Christmas Carol, though nothing was like this, where it felt like there was a big tribute and respect to Charles Dickens, who wrote the book in 1843. Which is quite a long time ago when you consider when the book was written, and the setting feels true to that old style of how London was. There are different interactions where, Gonzo isn't supposed to be able to interact with the story, though the way that they follow along, it was enjoyable. And I think there was a certain charm that added to the film that broke up the story, and it had a fast pace of story as well, which I believe the book and audiobook has a fast pace of story. So there isn't time to be wasted on unnecessary dialogue. It is fast paced and well written. The book itself is split into 2 parts, where the first half of the book is introducing the death of Jacob Marley, which isn't in A Christmas Carol. The second half of the book is introducing the ghost of Christmas Present to the conclusion of the story.
Steady. Scrooge made his way up the staircase, caring not a button for the darkness. Darkness was cheap, and Scrooge liked it.
Number 3, The Ghost of Christmas Past. The ghost introduces as a way of being a girl as to being a flame. Now, yes, I felt to be more heartwarming, and it showed some level of innocence and respect. So Ebenezer Scrooge visits back into his childhood and immediately recognises people. And I love the way that Gonzo does the description, how it shows his solitude childhood, being in a classroom ignoring Christmas and celebrating with friends to work hard, leading into his young adult years at school. I enjoyed how the narration complemented and compared to the book, it was well done. Number 3, Mr. Fuzzy-Wig. I enjoyed having the bear play the character and giving his pointless short speech, though there was one part where Ebenezer is pointing out the cost of the Christmas party and how he could use it to help his business more so, though he believed in the time of the year for generosity and showed appreciation and care for people, which was something that Ebenezer Scrooge appreciated, though he never practiced that within his own business. He always looked at how things were harder and worse. So I think it's quite sad how you could see his life go in 2 different directions from this key point when he met Belle. Number 4, Belle leaves him. There was a deleted scene where a song is called Love Is Gone Wrong, which is the biggest regret of Ebenezer Scrooge in the past, is that he let her go. With this story though, he does bring up some arguments which I think has tested myself this year more than any other year, and also within the way that some of the world is. That there are reasons to focus on business and investing, though he explains he makes partner with Jacob Marley, and from this point, he's still wanting more and postponing getting married to Belle, which keeps putting their life on hold. And if you keep putting your life on hold, you're not living your life, especially with your spouse. So she leaves him, and I think this interpretation and the devastation how Michael Caine presented, "Why do you delight in torturing me?" I think this scene hit it better than most scenes that are out there with the adaptations. I believe Michael Caine played an excellent part with the heartwarming moments within the film. Number 5, The Ghost of Christmas Present. I love The Ghost of Christmas Present as one of my favourite characters, and this version is surprisingly one of my favourites. There's something about it being a giant Muppet suit that just feels heartwarming and wonderful to be around this character. And I think he is more authentic to some of the real adaptation of The Ghost of Christmas Present to what we would assume otherwise. The Ghost of Christmas Present has scenes where he takes Scrooge to what could be happening Christmas Day to what he's missing out on, which is spending time with his nephew. And yes, they do tell playing the game of Guess What It Is, and it's about a joke against Scrooge himself. Quite horrible, actually, though it's showing that the relationship could have been something more. Within the book, it does explain that his younger sister, back in the school scene, was wanting him to come home with the rest of the family to enjoy Christmas, and he refused. So there are different choices that he has. And over the years, Fred wants nothing of Ebenezer. He doesn't want his money or anything else. He just wants a relationship with his uncle. He just wants that family dynamic. And I think it's quite sad, the reality of Ebenezer being an elderly man, to miss out on what he could have with a life with his nephew. Furthermore, we introduce into the Bob Cratchit family, Bob Cratchit working for Ebenezer and having financial struggles. Though Miss Piggy has the better way of working on this scene, doing the toast to the founder of the feast, this is one of my favourite scenes of all time within this type of story. And it was just something how she captured the essence of not liking Ebenezer for the struggles that they have, but at the same time she still has to wish him good health, because if Ebenezer was to pass away, the Cratchit family would have a lot of financial struggles having no income.
To my employer, I give you Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast, indeed!
Number 6, Father and Son. I like this part with Kermit, with Tiny Tim. I relate this scene with my own son, and so does he, between father and son. And within the story, I also went through some different personal issues, especially with family court, where I didn't know if I'd ever see my son again. And that's just how some tragedies of life can be for some people, though I do have access with him. And it is a good relationship that I have with my child. So this scene with Tiny Tim is inspirational for us both. And you can just see the happiness and the joy. Though the Ghost of Christmas Present gave a warning, if the events weren't to change, he would die. And then the words of Ebenezer Scrooge are thrown back at him. This is effective within the book, audiobook, and other films with this point.
Child will die. But what then? If he's going to die, he'd better do it and decrease the surplus population.
Number 7, The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. Now, this is the part of the story where Gonzo leaves, and I don't think it's that dark, though it is part of the story for the younger ones if they weren't to see it. And I think the representation of the other guys talking about the funeral and whether there'd be a free lunch represented as pigs, I think that was quite funny. And yes, it did show other points on how Ebenezer was to pass away, how his belongings would be stolen to be sold off by the housekeeper. So it's not quite clear within the film on what that is compared to the book or other adaptations. Though, when it comes to his death and who is to be in the gravestone, Ebenezer is still not clicking that it is his. And that's the same within the book. I do think it is fantastic, this adaptation. Number 8, a darker tone of story. There are scenes that are missed out, like the death of Jacob Marley in the coffin. Then it also misses out on when the Marley brothers are talking, it's just Jacob Marley, not two brothers. I know that it was different for the film, and it worked. Though with the part that Ebenezer looks outside and sees so much undead, that happened in the Jim Carrey film. It didn't happen in this one. I think it was too dark of a tone of people living in a torment of the afterlife, unable to do anything to redeem themselves. Their chance of redemption is gone. Though, for Ebenezer Scrooge, his chance of redemption has come. There was another dark point left out of the film with the Ghost of Christmas Present, where there are two children presented coming out from under his robes, and two suffering children. One is called Ignorance, which is a child desperate to most likely lead to a life in prison, and then Want, being a female more so with mental health issues, to work supposedly in a workhouse because there's nowhere else to go. So there is certain parts of suffering that happens within the world, especially back in the 1800s, that showed a dark tone of story within the book that is left out of the Muppets Christmas Carol, and I can see for obvious reasons why it's left out. Though I think if you're looking for a different tone of story, definitely check out the Jim Carrey film, though I will say the Muppets Christmas Carol is my favourite version of all time. Number 9, Redemption. Ebenezer Scrooge at this turning point wakes up and realises that all these events happened in a short time and he hasn't missed Christmas Day. This is the point of redemption. Even the way that he operates with money, the way that he logically thinks about helping Bob Cratchit and helping other people within the community, he has this redemption opportunity before his death. And I think from here, it does play a nice tribute to explain that Tiny Tim didn't die. He was able to change the course of the way the future was going to have his life matter to other people. So one point that I do want to point out with this, with his redemption, is it's not necessarily that he was a bad person, he just made some poor choices and some selfish choices. And I think with this type of situation, as certain therapists have said, with the interaction of the ghost to show him different, he chose to live his life. You live to look at the past and learn from it. You live in the present to work through the present day. And then with the future for what hasn't happened, you got time to change the course of things. And I think with this point of redemption, it's one of the best redemption stories of all time. Number 10, in conclusion, this movie is one that I will watch year after year, and even though it may be considered a children's movie, a family movie, who cares? If you enjoy something in life, just enjoy your life. And if something like this inspires you to be a better person, to redeem yourself from past sins, then why not? I think The Muppets Christmas Carol is one to enjoy. Though if you do like other adaptations on the other channels, I know there's some different adult content. I have also uploaded the review of the Jim Carrey A Christmas Carol and A Christmas Carol audiobook, narrated by Patrick Stewart. Otherwise, that's it for today, and I will see you all next time.